How's it going, guys, and thanks again for visiting my channel. And look what I got here today. This is the Godox LD150R. I was actually dying to get this light here. Every single day, at least 45 times a day, I was like refreshing the application to see when and where this package is, and then I could finally relax. So don't go anywhere because I have a lot of stuff to cover here, and this channel will probably be a one-stop shop to know every single thing about this light. I'm not gonna let one single thing slide here. This light comes in three sizes: the Godox LD75R, the Godox LD150RS, which is a more square light, and finally this one, the Godox LD150R. And just a quick disclaimer, Godox has sent me this light for me to test it out. That doesn't alter my review here. All my words are my own. I'm not paid to say anything, and this video is not sponsored by Godox, but I do want to actually thank Godox for sending this awesome piece of equipment, and even in Chinese, 感谢你发送此商品，谢谢. Regarding the biggest size of the LD150 series here, I wish I have them two here to compare. That would be cool, right? So if you want to know the difference between the two, the LD150R and the LD150RS, so I still prefer the shape here, even though the other one is 1,000 lux brighter and 20 bucks cheaper than this one. This one here runs for $999, and the other one I think is $979, $989. Now here's something that a lot of people don't know regarding the inverse square law for lighting. Any light, as soon as you back out the light a few feet away, you lost about 75% of its light intensity. So the other one, for being 1,000 lux brighter, depending on the distance that you're going to be placing these lights, the difference is going to be minimal. The LD150R is a 150 watt light, and it weighs about 6.3 kilograms, and it has a CRI of 96 and a TLCI of 97. Every other specifications here, I'm just going to leave the chart right here so you can actually pause the video and look through all the little knickknacks that you want to know about the super geeky stuff. So I'm going to continue here with the features of the light and everything. So let's talk about these LED panels here first. As you can see, it has a bunch of little squares here that makes the whole thing as a whole panel. And as you can see, these lenses here, they have some type of special lenses that help project the light further in case you need a ton of light output where every little half stop matters, because if they placed a heavy diffuser here, you will have to either remove the panel in case you need a lot of light output, the extra half or one stop. So this is why they made the panels like this here. So if you need a diffuse light, they actually sell an optional softbox designed specifically to go with this light here, and it's only $69, and that will diffuse the light, which is going to be great to actually film people, because the light the way it is here, the light is going to be a little bit harsh on skin. But for everything else, if you want to flood a ton of light everywhere, all you gotta do is open this barn doors and blast the light at 100%. This particular diffuser here, just so you know, you cannot remove it, so I wish you could actually slide this out here, just like my other panels do, because if you want to put a heavy diffusion here, it would be an option, but the way it is here, I think is just to mostly protect the LEDs. Another thing to notice with these LEDs here, because there are multiple LEDs, obviously they create a bunch of little weird shadows. Now if you want to put more diffusion, the light's going to become soft, and again, if you want to purchase the optional softbox, this is what the softbox is for. But this particular light here, when you actually place it close to your wall or a background or something like that, and then you start working with the barn door especially, that's when you're going to be noticing more of those little artifacts on the wall there. All you have to do is to put a Roscoe gel here, or even a tracing paper. Tracing paper is readily available at Walmart or Hobby Lobby stores. Just go there and ask for tracing paper. It's a very nice diffusion material, and it's not going to alter the color temperature here. So whatever it is you want to put in front of this light here, you can actually make the light diffuse. But don't forget that even though you can actually diffuse this light with a gel here, light's still going to be going all over the place unless you put a flag here to block the light from speeding light on this particular wall or particular something. Or again, with the optional softbox, which already comes included with the grid, you can actually put a grid there, so you can actually channel the light to where you want without any light spill. But don't forget, you also have the option to buy the grill here, which is still going to provide a harsh light, but you can actually control the light spill. But keep in mind that you cannot use that grid with the panel itself once these barn doors have been removed. You have to mount the actual grid here, and then you insert the barn door here. Thanks to another YouTuber who just reviewed the LD150RS, but he actually was pointing out the same thing. This is how I actually figure out how to remove the light. So when I actually receive this light here, I have to go back to his channel and to watch the particular part here, because this particular instruction here is not in the manual at all. So I'm usually pretty smart with things here to figure things out, but I would spend probably 3 hours to figure out how the heck you remove these barn doors, because there's no latches or anything obvious to see here. So all I have to do is to press the barn door downwards, because there are spring-loaded latches here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then while still holding the barn door, you simply let the thing kind of fall this way here, and then the whole thing comes out. And then to put it back, all you have to do is to insert the bottom of the barn door first, and then you press it down, and then this is gonna be going under here, and then you hear that click and the barn door is placed back in place. There's another thing you guys are going to be hearing a lot on every YouTuber reviewing this light here. Apparently they're going to think that this whole light is made of plastic. There's a ton of plastic in this light here, which is not true. The barn door is made of metal, the hinges are made of plastic, and on the back of the light here, the only thing that's plastic here is this and the handles here, but this is an ABS plastic, very heavy duty. But this particular part here, and including the heat sinks inside the light, this is not plastic, this is actually metal, and probably the same metal as the yoke is, because I actually put this light on the horizontal freezer for 10 minutes and let it really get really cold, and then the plastic stuff, it doesn't get sweaty and not nearly as cold as this one got cold. So whatever there is plastic here, when you take it out of the freezer, is okay to even touch. And this thing here was super cold and sweaty, which means it's metal. And I could actually see a tiny little scratch here, which also indicates that this actually is made of metal. Because when you look at this here, it can be very confusing, because the material of metal they use here, you swear it's plastic, but it's not plastic, it's metal. Okay, this whole thing here. Another thing that I noticed here, this is something so small to bring it up, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway. I noticed some scratches here on the barn doors here, and I was wondering where this thing came from, and then I realized that every time you actually close the top barn door here, this thing is gonna rub against the hinge here. So in my opinion here, they should have made this thing a couple millimeters shorter so it doesn't touch the barn door here. But again, this is something little here. And I almost forgot, when you see the pictures, of course, this is supposed to be attached on the actual barn door here. This is actually screwed in here. This is supposed to be a safety thing when you actually hang this light upside down on the stage, so this will be actually catching the light. And it also comes with a little cable here to actually hook it up somewhere so it catches the light. But this thing is actually so easy to bend, so I don't know. If you really want something safe here, I would actually attach a bigger thing on a yoke here, so if this light actually falls from hanging upside down on a stage or somewhere, this will really gonna catch the light, because the yoke compared to this I think is a lot stronger. But it was a nice thought. But I actually like the clean look of this thing here much better than with this thing attached here, don't you think? And the V-mount plate here, expect to have plastic on every single light. First of all, because they're electrical components over here, so you have to have some plastic, otherwise you're gonna short things out, right? Now the V-mount battery here, okay, the SZ150R doesn't feature V-mount batteries. The SZ200BI unfortunately doesn't feature a V-mount option here. But this one here, they put a V-mount thing here. But unfortunately, you're gonna need a 26-volt V-mount battery. Did you see how much those batteries cost? The El Cheapo costs over $400. So in my opinion here, they should have put 2 slots for V-mount, so you can actually put 2 14-volt V-mount batteries, which would definitely be plenty of power to light this panel, because my Luxury Taco is a 250-watt panel and it features 2 regular 14-volt batteries. So if the Taco can run for 2 hours with using those 2 batteries, this one here can probably run even 3.5 hours. So I don't know why, I'm not the engineer who designed this light, but I'm not sure why they chose this 26-volt option here, in which if you want to power this thing here, you're gonna spend some serious cash, which is probably half of the price of the light, to buy one single V-mount battery. But don't be sad, because there are other options. The same way I powered my Godox LD150R and every other light up to 300 watts that doesn't feature any ways to power, such as a V-mount or gold mount battery. Here's the power bank, which features AC outlets. But one important thing, never use the cheap Walmart power bank stuff, because they use square wave. So what you want to use is this. This features a pure sine wave, which is in this shape here. Your home outlet with nothing plugged in the circuit is about 3% THD, which is total harmonic distortion, and pure sine wave. This particular device offers the same clean electricity, and it's also the safe waveform that actually your delicate electronics like Blu-ray players, iPhones, lights like this, because again, don't be plugging this light on a cheap power inverter or AC power bank, because you're gonna burn this light out. So right now, as you can see, there's no power because the plug is in my hand. All you have to do is to simply plug this in here, slide the AC option, and check it out. Power. And 100%. But with something like this here, this supports up to 300 watts. So try to keep it under 50% so you don't actually torture this thing here. But this is rated to 300 watts, but this is not a expensive power bank AC generator. This rates about $200. Now Godox also makes some serious power banks, but they are in the neighborhood of the same $1,000 here. But again, if you want to power most lights outdoors, be ready to spend some cash, because V-mount batteries, they are expensive, and so are these, in a rate that actually can actually keep this running for a long time. But at least in an emergency situation, if you have a shoot outdoors, you want to take this particular light here. If you have a power bank like this, as long as it is a pure sine wave device, yes, you can use it here. And also try to take it easy here. 50% and down, I would highly recommend, instead of 100% with devices like this here. To actually mount the power supply here, you probably have two choices, or the best two choices. Mount the power supply over here on the yoke, or you can actually mount it directly to the pole here. So when you rise the light, everything goes together, which is my preferred approach here in mounting power supplies. This power supply here is not too heavy, so even if you mount on the yoke here, you're not gonna have the light wanting to shift this way here. As you can see, it stays horizontal. It's not gonna be forcing on the side of the light here. The AC cord comes with this Velcro here, so taking advantage of that. Also for safety, I actually hooked up the Velcro here on the yoke, so in case somebody trips over this AC cord here, it's not gonna break or do anything to the power supply or the light itself. And to remove the power supply, all I have to do is to disconnect this first here, and then there's a Velcro here that you actually simply remove it out here. So what I did, if you want to go to Amazon and buy one of those selfie sticky furniture things here, as you can see, it looks like this. So this prevents the power supply from sliding around, and then you install a regular Velcro on the core side here first, as you can see here, and then you use this particular Velcro here, and then you loop it around, and then even if you want to hook up on the stand pole here, all I have to do is to rise this a little bit here, and then you simply mount it this way here with the cord facing up, press it in real quick, and there you go. This is not going anywhere. And then you actually put the AC power plug right here, good to go. So when you actually rise the stand, everything goes with it. Now this light here features a lock on the side, but none on the other side, and you don't need, because this panel is not actually too heavy, and it easily works this way here. I'm doing this with one hand, one side of the light, and everything turns. So all I have to do is to lightly lock it in, and this panel is not going anywhere. So this has a rubber and teeth here as well. So everything this one does, this particular one is doing the same thing, other than it doesn't have the lock here. You know those 10-hour shoots when you're actually hungry, tired, you definitely need a break? Thanks to this light here, they feature two speakers right here. No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about fan noise here. I don't like noise on my recordings, neither do you, but they know we don't like that. But these lights, they are powerful, and they definitely need a fan, especially if you want to crank them up. So there's no way to avoid not having a fan. So they have actually two fans right here, and they're actually very quiet. I think they did a very good job here, because again, it's gotta have a fan. But these lights here, I never have a problem, and I'm super picky with my sound, because sometimes I have interviews, especially in a place like this here. This place is actually dead quiet. You can hear every single thing here. So I'm gonna be quiet here for like a few seconds so you can actually check out the room tone of this place here. So I'm gonna be turning on the fan, which, by the way, even if you have the fan to on the menu, when the light is at 0%, the fan is actually deactivated, it's off. As soon as you turn it to 1%, here's the fan. Now when you crank it up to 100%, the fan RPM doesn't get faster or quicker, it's the same, like, it doesn't matter, 100% or 1%, it's the same exact sound. And this microphone here is a super cardioid condenser microphone. This thing is pointing directly at me and these fans here, and the distance from my mouth to this microphone is exactly 11 inches. Who does an interview with the light placed this way with the light facing this way on an interview, right? So as soon as you turn the light on the other side here, look what happens to the fan noise. That's like 75% of the noise gone already. Now I'm gonna turn this microphone that way and possibly kill this light here. So that's your fan noise. So I'm gonna be actually placing the microphone back here. Now let's whisper to see if the fan noise overpowers my whisper. So as you can see, there's no problem whatsoever. The LD150R also has a fan. It doesn't pollute my recordings. And the light is actually, what, a foot away from my face here, okay? If you want to do an interview, you're going to be placing this light at least 3 feet away with the panel facing this way, and the fan is on the back there, in a room this quiet. So most interviews they're probably going to do are on location, and you cannot control the noise of the environment. Let's say that you interview a chef, and then even though everybody says, hey, quiet on the set, there's always somebody making a little noise there. You can't stop the interview when the guy is saying that super important thing, and the fan noise is not going to be anywhere near the actual noise that people might be making on the actual ambient that you are operating your cameras and doing your interviews. So the only way that you can actually hear this fan in your recording is if you went to a booth, one of those hearing specialists for hearing impaired people, and then you will lock yourself in that booth, bring the light in and turn on the mic, and then the fan noise is going to be deafening there, because in that room you can actually hear your thoughts and your heartbeat. Makes sense what I'm saying? So no, the fan is not a problem to me. It's not going to be a problem to you. And this is my opinion. I mean, you'll be the judge of this whole thing here. I am saying that you're not going to have a problem with this fan. But just in the event the fan noise is actually bothering you somehow, it got into your recordings, this light has the ability to actually silence the fan. However, the light output is going to be reduced to 50%, but for a light of this power here, most applications is going to be plenty enough at 50%. Now in situations that when you place this light that is actually unreachable, you mount it high on the ceiling or somehow you don't want to come back here to adjust the light every 5 seconds, there are 2 ways to operate this light wirelessly. One is using the Godox Light app, and the second one is going to be the optional remote control, which is the Godox RCR9. Again, this is an optional purchase, but everything that you need to control this light here, you can actually do in this remote control. You can do the CCT, the RGB, the filters, the gels, every single thing is in this remote here. So regarding DC power here, I'm actually very glad that Godox actually gave us the option here to use the V-mount battery, and I actually brought this light over here very quickly just to compare the voltages and options, because this one here is a 150 watt light and it runs at 24 volts DC and at 8.3 amps. And it requires a 26 volt V-mount battery. One battery costs actually half of what this light costs. It's about $500 for one single battery. This one here is a 250 watt panels running at 36 volt DC and at 7.8 amps. So it's pretty much like 8 amps each. So I'm not the engineer of this light. There must be a reason why they wanted us to run a 26 volt V-mount battery here, but it's just saying that, you know, this is a 250 watt light panel, and it lets me run with 2 V-mount batteries at 14 volts each. So even if you crank it up to 100%, no problem. You can actually run this for several hours. Same thing with this here. So this is a 250 watt panel. This is a 150 watt panel. So I'm not sure why we have to actually run a 26 volt V-mount battery here. What if they actually installed 2 of those V-mount battery slots here and to run 2 14 volt V-mount battery side by side instead of a single 26 volt V-mount battery? I think this would be a more affordable way to actually take this light panel, LED panel outside, instead of, like, you know, the 26 volt battery, a single one, while this one here can simply divide into 2 14 volt batteries. So again, if a 250 watt panel can do this, so can this one here. 150 watts, 24 volts, 8.3 amps, and 2 V-mount slots here. 250 watts, 36 volts DC, and 7.8 amps. with running the 2 V-mount batteries here. I'm just saying. So next here I'm going to be running a power consumption test, which is rare on YouTube when people do this, but I'm glad I'm actually one of the guys that do this here, especially if you are outside, outdoors, with the V-mount on the back here. Every single watt matter, especially if you're running out of juice. So I'm going to be doing a test here to see how much power this light consumes at a particular brightness or RGB or CCT and etc. Alright, so here's the panel completely shut off. I'm in the United States, which will run 120 volts here, electricity wise. So when we switch to watts, you will see this light is actually drawing 1 watt with the light completely off, which means I think if you leave a V-mount battery attached here in a box or unattended for days, it's going to be probably drawing at least 1 watt per hour here. So it's highly advisable with any light that you actually remove the V-mount battery, because it's never a good idea to leave one here. So let's actually turn on the light right now. The light is at 0%, the fan is off, and it's about the same 1 watt power consumption here. So let's run this light at 1%. That's when actually the fan starts to kick in here. So right now it's consuming about 10.3 watts and it's at 5600 degrees Kelvin. Let's crank it up to 10% to see what happens. It's about 25 watts. At 50% it's consuming about 81 watts. So at 100% it's going to be a jump here. And then it stabilizes down to 160 some watts here. And the Godox LD150R, actually I'm experiencing the same thing, so it's always a little bit over, you know, this is a 150 watt light, but it's always going to be a few watts above that. Now let's run this at different color temperatures. Let's start with the 2500, and it's consuming about 174 watts. At this temperature here, about the same. 166, 5600 is about 160 something, 66 as well, 6500 degrees Kelvin about 164, 7500 degrees Kelvin about 171, and at 8500 about 173. Apparently the tungsten is the highest power consumption of this light here on CCT mode. Now let's go back to 1% and switch to the HSI here. And at this color here, at 1%, the light is consuming about 12.6 watts or so. You notice that when you actually change the color, it's a completely different story here. So some colors, they consume more power than the others. Let's see what the magenta will do. Usually that's a strong one here. There you go, 12 watts, 50%, about 50 watts. At 100%, about 121 watts. That's actually crazy, because when I actually unpack this light here, this light is extremely bright for the reds or the RGB. I was pretty impressed with this light because it usually is not that strong, and I haven't seen a light consume this much power on RGB. It's usually a lot less, something like this here, like tops. Something like this here on a 150 watt panel. So I was pretty shocked to see how much power this thing is consuming with the red colors. So at 100%, let's switch some colors here. At this particular setting is consuming about 76 watts. Over here is about the same, kinda. And then here is about 63 watts. Something like that. And back to the red here. Now when you go to the CCT again as a reference, at 100% is about 166 watts or so. Now check this out. When you actually have all the RGB set to white, this should consume a lot of power, which doesn't. How strange is that? Because most LED panels, when you set the RGBs to white, that's actually even more power consumption than the actual CCT lights. Interesting. Okay, right now I'm on the back of the panel here, and as you can see, this whole thing is self-explanatory. Everything is color-coded here. I like the fact that this whole display is actually color. And I'm gonna start with the mode button here. Right now we are on CCT mode, and pressing the mode button, that's when you can actually go from the CCT to the RGB, HSI, the Roscoe gel, the Lee gel, and the effects. Now to get out of here, when you press the mode button or the back, nothing works. You have to press this in here to go back to the default page. where you were before. This knob here is your brightness, which you can go from 0%, the fans automatically shut off. As soon as you go to 1%, it kicks back on. And you can go very slowly from 1% increments all the way to 100%, or very quickly to 100%. It literally takes a whole little turn here for you to shut off the light or go to 100%. When you press this button here, you can actually turn off the light. Let's say that you are at 13%. You press this, it goes back to 0, and then you press it again, it goes back exactly to the percentage of brightness that you left as. And this knob here on ZCT allows you to set your color temperature. In this particular light here, you can range all the way down to 2500 degrees Kelvin and very quickly all the way up to 8500 degrees Kelvin. Or you can start from here, start tapping this button here. You have little presets here: 2500 Kelvin, 33, 42, 56, 65, 75, and 85. And then once again, it goes back to that. A couple more taps, you are back to 5600 degrees Kelvin. Now I'm gonna up the intensity here to show this knob here. Right now you can actually control the green or magenta correction. So when you actually turn to the left, you're gonna have your magenta correction here, or all the way to the right. This takes a few turns here. It's not as fast as this one somehow. And then you are all the way to the plus 50. So notice that once you start to decrease the brightness of the light, for example 50%, there is some limitations here, which just means the software will know this particular range here is enough to color correct the color here when you are at 50% or 75 or 100%, for example. When you actually dim the light even further, as you can see, you're gonna have even less room here for color correction, but that doesn't mean you're actually having less room to color correct. At this particular percentage here, with this little range here, you also notice that the green or magenta, you have a higher or lower number here. It doesn't mean that you're gonna have less room to color correct your light. It means that at 20%, this particular range here is all you need. And as you go less with intensity, you have even less room over here. Now the funny thing is here, when you actually press in this button, it's supposed to actually reset to 0. In my opinion, this is what would make sense, but when you actually press it in, it always go back to the hardest extreme of the letter M. So when you actually decrease the brightness, right now the limit is here is minus 30, but still, let's say that you are here somewhere, or here or there, right? When you press it in again, see, as you can see, it goes all the way to minus whatever this is allowing it to go. So in my opinion, when you actually press this here, it should reset to 0. Let's see what happens if you double press. No, nothing. So this is something that they actually have to fix this here. And the lock here, you press and hold for a few seconds, which means it's gonna lock everything, so nobody can actually mess anything here. Not even the menus you can access. The whole thing is locked. You press it in for a few seconds again, you unlock the panel. Now here are your presets. This one's here, I didn't save anything yet, but this one here I actually saved. So right now you see P1, and then it should supposed to be P2, 3, and 4, right? So right now I'm on P1 again, and I set the light to 10% at 5600 degrees Kelvin. You can actually override this at any time. Let's say that I want the brightness to be at 13%, and I want this here to be at 6500. You can also add this particular settings here. So you press and hold, and then override yes or no. You switch this button here and press yes and press it in, and then it's saved. Now I'm gonna go back here to mode because I want to change it to RGB now. I don't use RGB a lot, but this allows you to control each primary color individually, or you can actually mix the orange with the blue and the red or whatever, or just keep one blue only, green only, or R only. So I don't use this feature a lot, so I'm actually gonna go back here and switch to the HSI, press it in, and then this button here is gonna allow you to control the hue, as you can see, very slowly or very quickly. And remember on the CCT, when you have this particular presets here with the color temperature, right? I would think that pressing this button here would give you actually the presets of the main colors, like red only, blue only, you know, parking right on the 240, for example, which is blue, right? About 240. That's supposed to be pure blue. So I would say pressing these buttons here is going to allow you to choose each primary color there. That will be something that they actually can improve on the software here. This button here on HSI mode is your saturation control, one number at a time, all the way to 0, all the way to 100% very quickly. And again, this is your brightness control here, 100%, all the way to 0. Press the back button again. You can actually go to the gels here. You press this in. you have all these options here, especially if you know what number gel you want. You can actually dial this right in here. Press this back here to go to the next set of gels, which is the lead gels. You can actually press it in, and then you have all these options here. Press the back button. Now is the effects, which you can go from all these effects here. With your 14 effects, the coolest ones here is the music. I'm gonna go back to this later on. Press back here, you can go back to the CCT, for example, press it in. Now to access the menu here, press this button, obviously. Now we have the wireless setting here, press in this button here, and then you can actually choose on and off, which is going to be turning off the radio, including remote control. Anything wireless is going to be shut off, so go back to on. And then you press this button in here, that's when you actually change the other options here. You can actually go this way here. And the channel here goes from 0 all the way to 32. Press the button again and go from group A, B, C, D, E, and F, and then some numbers here, and then back to A. Press it again is your ID. The ID on a remote control means is a better way to avoid interference with other devices here. So we have the ID off all the way to 99. Keep in mind that if you don't do anything for a few seconds here, this is going to be actually quitting the menu. And then you have to press this button here again. There you go. So press again this button here. Now we're going to go to the Bluetooth, press it in. You can actually have the Bluetooth on and off. You can actually reset the Bluetooth in case your app fails to connect with the light, which I never seen it happen before, but you can actually go yes. I'm going to, let me see. Oh, I guess it says done. You don't have an option. As soon as you turn on the yes here, you are reset. Okay. Press the back button here. We are on DMX, press it in. You have the follow mode or the lead mode. So this particular light here can be the one that leads, while the other LD150Rs can actually follow all the commands of this light here. And again, if you take too long to fumble with this menu here, it's gonna go back to the whatever page that you were here before. So you gotta keep pressing this menu here. Now when it's set to follow, you have to press in this button here to access the bottom line here. Address from 1 to off all the way to 512. Press it back. Next is the fan. Press it in here. So right now the fan is on. I'm going to switch to off. And then you press the back button here. To get off the menu, press the back button once more. Now you will see that the intensity here is limited to 50% because I turned off the fan. Go back to the menu here. Now the next one is the screen brightness. Set the default to factory S3. You can go 1, 2, or 3. I'm going to leave it at 3. Press it back here. Now is the language, English or Chinese. And reset the light. I really don't want to do this right now. As a matter of fact, let's do it. Done. There you go. The whole thing is reset to factory. So I believe it's eliminating the presets that I did here. Yes, it does. I was actually curious to see how to wipe out completely the memory here on these things here. I think you have to do a factory reset because when you press and hold, all it does is to save or overwrite the settings here, but you can't really clear out. So to clear that out, you gotta do a factory reset. And here's the version 1.1. Maybe the app thinks it's up to date, but the actual website, it actually released another firmware. So it's always a good idea to go to the Godox website to make sure the firmware is actually up to date. And finally, the screen sleep here, you can actually set it to never. I think that's factory default because we just did that, so it says to never. And then 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or never. So I guess I'll set to never here. I don't want things shutting down on my production. So right here, there are 4 preset buttons, which you can actually very conveniently save your presets here. Let's go to the RGB at the actual HSI. I'm gonna set this to 44%, the saturation 98%, and the color 2, and then you press and hold, and then it saves. And then if you want to change anything here, go back to saturation 100, and then the intensity to I don't know, 12%, and put this back here to the 0. And then you press and hold, and it's gonna overwrite. You come to this button here, turn it to the right, and then press it in. You have overwritten the previous setting here. And over here is the power switch. Right here is where you actually plug in your AC adapter. Right here is your DMX XLR cables. Right here is the USB port. This is not a USB 3.0 anything fancy. The only thing this does is to do firmware upgrade, nothing else. It doesn't power anything, it doesn't do anything. And right here is your secondary DMX port, which is the RJ45, I think that's what it's called. It's like an internet type of cable. So here's the RCR9 optional remote control. So you actually go to the menu here, and then you make sure the wireless is set to on. Then you're gonna make sure everything matches here. I'm on channel 2, group A, and ID number 1. And here's the brightness settings, allows you to go from 0 to 1% increments, just like you do on a light here. Now when you press and hold, there's a slight delay until you let go of the button here. That's when the light actually updates. Now if you don't want that, you gotta do one by one. And here you have some presets, 3200, 5600, and 6500. And here you have the shortcuts such as the red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, pink, violet, and orange. Here you have access to the effects, CCT mode, and the HSI, and control the saturation and everything else that you want to do here. I'm actually a huge fan of using a remote control here because it's a lot lighter than my iPhone, and sometimes your phone is gonna lock the screen, so you have to go back here, unlock the phone, and sometimes you risk of dropping the phone on the ground because the phone is slippery, and sometimes the screen is not bright enough. When you actually go outside, you don't get to see everything that's on the app here. On the remote control, all the buttons are here. I don't know, I'm a big fan of the remote myself. Now to connect this light to the app is extremely easy. All you have to do is to launch the Godox Light app, and then simply go to the top right side of the app here, click on add, and then here's the light. Tap in here, click confirm on the bottom, and it takes just a few seconds for this light to be recognized through the app here. And there you go, it's connected. Now you can actually turn on the light, turn it off. Now you can actually go back to the device list here, and you can actually select this light and simply remove. Or you can go back to the add, hit refresh, the light is right here, confirm, is right back on. So the SZ200BI is not on because the light is somewhere on the case there. This is why the light bulb is actually turned off and the light is not present. And you can actually add this light and this light to a particular group here. And then I have my groups here, which are my TL60s. And then here's the light, I have the SZ200BI and also the LD150R here. So to control this light here, you simply do this here. You can actually turn on and off the light. And then on the bottom here, you press the scene control. And then on top, the little disc here, which gives you the home menu here. So let's go to the CCT mode first. You can actually adjust your color temperature from 2600 degrees Kelvin all the way to 8500. And your magenta green correction right here, and your intensity, and then you press the disc again here on top of the application, and then you go to the RGBW, which gives you this box here that you can actually adjust your saturation there, colors, the hue and everything, and then press the disc again. You are on HSI mode. It's pretty much the same thing, it's just a different layout here. And then you go back to this here, and then you press the gel filters. And here are your Roscoe gels here, which you can access all these gels here. And the lead gels, any gel that you want is here. And you can also change the saturation, the intensity, everything here, adjust the brightness and all. Tap that disc on the top again. It takes you to the effects mode, in which you have all this here. So here I'm gonna be showing you guys all the effects, and you can actually change to speed number 1, 2, and 3. Now to keep this short, I'm just going to be doing the effect speed number 2 here. So here's the actual RGB cycle, and here's the flash. And then have the laser, the lightning, the broken bulb, then the TV. Now this effect here is something they're going to be using a lot to simulate an actual fire or fireplace or anything like that. But keep in mind that most fireplaces, they are located at the floor level. So don't make the mistake in placing the light high on a stand. Just place the light near the floor to make sense, to be appearing that a fire is coming from that level. And the fire looks like this here. And you also should do the same exact thing. Place the light on the floor, on the ground. And here's the firework. Then the police car, fire truck, ambulance, the SOS, and what's strong light? I've never seen this before on the other Godox light, so okay. Now this effect here is pretty cool. I'm gonna be quiet here so the light completely stops. There's a microphone built in right here, so only when the light listens to a noise, that's when it's going to be responding. And this light here is actually very fast. There are some other Godox lights that use this effect here with the music, but the effect is not as quick as this here. So this light is actually very nice because it's actually very fast. So when you clap, or this, so it's pretty cool. And the last one here is the color picker. You just tap in here, so anywhere in the light that you choose, it's gonna be actually responding to the same color here. And then on the camera here, you can actually take a picture of this here, take a photo, and then now you can actually mimic the colors here. As you can see, you just tap and hold, and it will do the job just fine. So that's pretty much it for the app here. That should cover everything. There are other YouTubers who already reviewed the other lights on the LD series, but I'm actually very proud to be the first YouTube channel to be reviewing the Godox LD150R, and that feels very special. I must be doing something right over here because they actually prioritize the shipping here to the fastest shipping possible to make sure I get this light like, pronto. So I was supposed to be getting a softbox plus the grid here because to avoid delays, they decided to just send the light the way it is without the accessories, but I wish I had these accessories here to show you guys. Now, if they decide to send me these two accessories here, the grid and the softbox, which also includes the grid, I'll be more than happy to make a second video here also demonstrating with people, somebody in front of this light here, how the softbox with the grid, without the grid performs. And just to give you guys an idea how long it takes to make a review like this here, so I started the review at 7:45 p.m. Right now it's 7:33 in the morning next day, and I'm still gotta shoot B-roll here to finalize the review plus edit. So I don't really consider item that they send me here as a free item because of the time and the amount of work that takes to make these reviews here. If I was doing a corporate video that's about 10 hours long, it will cost the client at least $7,000 to $9,000 to make such videos. So again, I don't consider these lights free because it's a lot of my time and my work here. I'm a YouTube creator and this channel needs content just like any other YouTube creator channel does. And all I'm trying to do here is to review some lighting for you guys so you can actually decide in making a purchase of this light or any other light. So that's pretty much what I'm doing here. Even though these reviews are exhausting, I actually love what I do, and it makes me very happy every time I see some of you guys' comments there and I respond to everything that I say here. So keep doing this because it makes me very happy and it tells me that my channel is actually a useful channel to you guys. So once again, thank you very much for your time and your support. So that concludes my review. I'm actually pretty happy with this light here. I think it is a very pretty light and it does what I want. So I hope you found this content useful, and if you want to comment or if you have any questions, please drop them down in the comment section that I respond to everything that I see there. If you want to subscribe to this channel, that'll be awesome. If you want to give me a thumbs up, I'll thank you twice. So thank you very much again for your time, and I'll see you next time.